mercenaries. Survivors of the biggest pub crawl Iceland has ever seen. Hello, and welcome to CCP Presents. Now, to start things off, would you please put your hands together and welcome to the stage the CEO of CCP, Hilmar Vega Bjarnason.
Look at you all. Mostly intact from control. Yeah. And thanks for not destroying the town. It's also mostly intact. Although tonight remains. Let's see about that. So welcome. We are now in the final day of the fairly extensive keynote program that we've put it together. And just for people that are showing up now for the first time, there's often additional people that only come here on Saturday. Then we have been, over the past 2 days, we've been having a special focus on dust, and then we did a fantastic moment for Line yesterday, which was one of our best keynotes yet. And here today we're going to talk about more sort of futuristic things, more sort of CCP-related things, but of course there's going to be a huge focus on dust and heat, and some recap from the days before. Also, we welcome people on the street. We're now up to 200,000 people unique that watch the street, which is a lot. And it's been a joy to sort of what little I've been able to follow. I've been in the set a few times, and I really want to do a shout out to this guy. Running a TV station for a universe is almost, he does that single-handedly. That's no small task. Go and send him some nice tweets on Twitter. Yeah! Indeed. I mean, up until this point, we've been spending a few moments on the sort of celebrating the 10-year birthday of Line, or it's just coming on the 6th of May. And right now, we've been talking a lot more into the future. We've been talking about some concepts we're sort of looking at into the future, both for EU, CCP, and dust. At this moment, at this Saturday, this is sort of the moment where everyone comes together. This is when people come, when our employees come and their families, of course, the players. We have shareholders in the room, partners and press. So we're sort of summarizing a lot of what is ahead for CCP. And of course, as we talked a little bit about yesterday when we were going over the history of EVE, which is also the history of CCP, it's been quite a journey so far. And it's been interesting to go and sort of, I've grouped it now into sort of 3-year periods where you can sort of very distinctively sort of follow what's going on in each of the phases. And of course we walked through this in very pictorial detail yesterday, so I'm not going to spend time on that. But this is how it began. This is the panel from the first Fanfest, and here we have today, so this has come quite a long way. There have also been some really amazing firsts here at Fanfest. These people got married at Fanfest. And was really touching to talk to them before why this was the right place for them to do something like that. We feel tremendously honored that they picked that, and they were very happy that we were able to sort of put this together and make sense. Because, I mean, for many of us, Fanfest is like a sacred ground. When Fanfest is in the Hapa, it's a holy place for us, for me. It feels like that. We've been doing this for 9 years, and it sort of feels that gravity. And people are taking advantage of that to make vows to each other. It was truly touching. Also a lot of happy people in the store, which is good to see. There's been record sales, and we'll continue to find unique items to do that. We'll talk more about that later. Also cosplay, I'm big on cosplay, and every chance I see, here is the head of Dust University getting a gear. We've had a lot of truly inspired developer talks. Gary Swift was talking about EVE Offline, which you can still play there in the box outside, a fantastic side scroller. Of course, people have been playing even Dust in various tournaments, and people have been getting tattoos. It's a wonderful thing, always surprising to see how much that takes. And now we have a beta program for tattoos, so if you're not quite sure, then you can just get a little fake one to begin with. A more inspired talk, I love GM here, he is speaking with such inspiration. And some of the roundtables have actually blown up. This one has been moved into a new, moved outside. It was too big for the room. And this is really what Fanfest is about. It's about the players of the game talking directly to the people that make the game. See how it makes everyone happy. Asking questions, getting comments, see how developers see how happy they are when this happens. It's so much more enjoyable than doing it on the forums. And we have had some new things now. Now we have Maybe Real Track, where we brought sort of cutting edge technology and sci-fi in our universe, sort of in hero states to further help evolve our universe. And people have been happy with this. Yeah. A lot of people have come to me and they really appreciate about this, so this is certainly something we will continue sort of figure out what makes sense and how to manage this. Yeah, exactly. There's a goal. More from the tournament and you can discover how bad he is. And why is that wolf there? I need to. What's the recording that's going on? I missed this one. We have a record amount of charity collected this Fanfest. So we are about 2 million XK, which have been collected by the various charity events. I really want to applaud you guys that have participated in that. Of course, the charity dinner was amazing. I learned so many things when I attend these dinners. It's a huge inspiration to talk to people in that setting about Game Online and what potential future we can hold. As much as people say that Game Online players are bullies, it's really, I mean, it isn't like that. I haven't met a nicer person than all of you. And that is the feedback we get from everyone in now the extended regulate, after 2,000 people swarming the town. Everyone that comes to me with a cab driver or a restaurant owner, they say, these people are so nice. And increasingly now we have on the program. So here we have the CSM7, which has done a lot of really good work. It's been one of the calmest CSM. There's some great posts that John Andrew was going over yesterday. And now we're about to announce the results, who's going to be on the CSM 8. So here is the election participation. It's a little lower than last year, which to me I think is a bit of an indication that things were a bit heated last year. So getting people on the CSM was a big deal. But now I would say this is calm waters. Of course, this is a lot of participation. Getting 50,000 people to vote is a lot. I was just voting myself this morning. Today, Iceland is electing a new parliament. And here is our mayor, the mayor of Reykjavik, making his vote. He owns this super cool Derek costume, which he often sports when he's doing that. And I say that this is Fanfest voters because we did changes to the system, the election system, so that right now there's a lot more votes behind the CSM. The system is way more effective. I wish we could bring some of these changes to the election system of Iceland, because sometimes I don't feel that I'm really affecting the situation much with my vote. And of course, Iceland is in the process of making a new constitution, and we of course will continue to take inspiration from that. But with further ado, I'm going to put CSMA on the screen. So here we go. So we have a lot of new people, but we also have some veterans, like Trevor, who is now on his fourth season. So this means so as we go and chart the path to the subcontext of being online, it's good to get some fresh hands on the season to go and help us chart that journey along the visions that we've been laying out over Fanfest. And speaking about visions, I'm actually going to sort of start the dialogue by saying the future vision from Fanfest 2011. We are still on this journey of bringing about this future vision. Of course, we've learned many lessons along that journey, and we will continue to find better ways to strive more effectively towards this mission without losing sight of any of the current priorities that we've been working through, and we've been working through more. Because it's all about making this real. And I want to come back to the Make East track. Actually, I'm going to go and applaud these guys again for coming here and sharing with us. And this track actually came together when I saw the Kickstarter for the space elevator on the moon that Michael Lane started last year, and I quickly pulled out my own credit card and back for some tier that was representative of my need to have a space elevator on the moon. And we have been on a journey now for some time to build a space elevator in one line. There is something about the concept of a space elevator that really ties together the linking of the planet surfaces and space. And as we're a company that builds purpose around linking those things together, then there's something about taking an elevator to space that represents how connected these two worlds are. Although a space elevator is maybe not the most sexy thing. I think about it like a train to space or like a magnet to space. This is something that is a part of the future vision and has been there in the trailer since the beginning. And this is something that we see become, as we progress through the years, to become a strategic hub for people to fight over in the universe as we build out the multi-year strategy. And we'll see some of that as the program progresses. I also want to do a shout out to our Chinese players, some of which are watching the stream. And I want to do it in the context of the team from TM City, which is here with us at Fanfest. Here they are. And there in the middle, we see Horace, who is CCP's first employee in China. He actually sent me a letter in 2005 with a business case about bringing Eve to China. And we've been on that journey. We were first with one partner, and now we re-released at the end of last year. And we just released Retribution last week, and we're seeing phenomenal success, and these are amazing partners we're working with. They were actually doing a talk earlier today where they showed a fantastic greeting video from the players of Serenity, sort of giving a greeting here into Fanfest. And we're going to be releasing that later. But we're also thinking about ideas how we can link more Tranquility and Serenity together at Fanfest. Maybe we can hold a cross-international tournament and find some ways to link the worlds together, even though currently the Chinese government is not super excited about linking them directly together. But things will progress. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about this. This is something we announced a few months ago, that EVE Online was basically brought into the Museum of Modern Art in New York. And Torri Franz-Olofsson has been working on this project and many other projects in a new division which we've formed, which is called the EVE IT Development Division, where we're now organizing a lot of the activities we've been doing around sort of products which are not computer games that CCP is engaged with, and it's branded sort of in the EVE universe. And Torri is going to bring with him Paola Antonelli, who's a senior curator at the Museum of Modern Art. So please welcome on stage Torri and Paola.
Thank you, and thank you, Paola, for acquiring us into the MoMA. It's pretty amazing.
Thank you, and I'm so happy to hear Torben. Hello to everybody, to the live streamers, to the AD Council. Always happy to be here. It's been quite an amazing ride, and you know, EVE Online is part of the first 14 video games ever acquired into the MoMA collection. And this acquisition was important for many different reasons, not only because it is the first time that video games are acquired into an art collection, not only because it was such an interesting experiment, but also because EVE Online is possibly the first live acquisition for MoMA. You know, together with other games like Dwarf Fortress, you know, the Brother Adams are here today. It is a game that exists out in the real world. You cannot really stop it, you cannot freeze it. All you can do is establish a relationship with CCP and with the EVE Online community. And in fact, I have to thank you all for capturing a day in the life of EVE Online so that we can show it to the audiences in New York. So this is truly a recognition of a wonderful achievement in interaction design, but especially it's the recognition of a new way of designing, which is to get something started and then putting it out there so that the whole world can build it. And I'm so happy to have been able to do that with you.
Thank you so much. when we were installing the piece and technical installation. And I had to take like a small break, and I went upstairs to the next floor to see what else they had. And they had some like pictures of fruit cans and this painting. I think I saw this at the doctor's once, and another like painting from Sweden. So it was pretty much Norway. And then going down the flight of stairs and seeing this, the world of New Eden, and seeing the installation of EVE Online on there. And this is an excerpt from the installation itself. It's pretty remarkable. Rather than creating a crazy cinematic video of EVE Online, we, like Paula said, we took everything that happened on December 9th last year and then try to communicate that from a bird's eye view. This is, for example, like all the player kills that occurred on the server that particular day. And we also, you provided us with videos, with recordings of what you did that day. There were people mining, there were people doing missions, some people doing trade. There was a large number of greeting videos with like citizen laughing. I thought this was pretty cool. This is all the email that occurred during that particular day. And also seeing the logging chart, like where are people coming from? Here the blue color represents America, and here the Americans are logging in early in the morning. But then they start going asleep, and Western Europe starts coming in yellow. And then you start seeing Eastern Europe and Russia marked in red, and you can see kind of what areas and what regions of space they inhabit. I thought that was pretty cool. And we discovered a lot of things when we were building these things that we hadn't visualized before we seen them in tables. These are all the jumps that occurred on that particular day. I think it's pretty beautiful. And let's give a hand to the people that actually made this. Let's give a little bit out there. Video runs like 8.5 minutes, so if you're in New York for the next year or so, it's going to be there for a year. I totally recommend you to check out the MoMA and that Norwegian piece as well. Now, what is the universe? What is it? Yes, it is you. It is the sum of everything that has happened since 2003 and 2023. Function EVE to the players, represented as P in this equation. We thought, I mean, that was the original concept of what the EVE universe was. And then it grew. People piled on, and because people piled on, and they gave us money, which is nice, we invested that money back into development and into features and added features. All the features you can think about. And this used to be our policy for, I mean, that was the way of thinking, is that we really went the vision of building the world of EVE Online, building out, fleshing out New Eden, and we have all these crazy ideas. And it's not like, they're not even original ideas, they come somewhere from the ether and we just pick them up, I think. It's like we're constantly opening up new and different windows into the EVE universe. But we're trying to do it through the EVE Online client. And as we discovered, that is not enough. That's not the way. We cannot fully represent the entire EVE universe just through that piece of software, the EVE Online client. So, Dust 514 is another dimension, and you notice the multiplication symbol there and not the plus symbol, because there's a compounding effect that happens when these two kind of shards interact. And also, there's also stuff outside these games that are part of the universe. We've already published 3 books, we all have all these chronicles, our trailers are almost like short films in themselves. So there's this different media in different formats. You know, I have to put this equation in there just to nerd out, forgive me. Can be represented there. And the end is what we are talking about here today, or that I'm talking about, and that's like what I'm involved in. Because the universe is vast, it is huge. It's got like all these 7,000 solar systems, all these planets, some of them are inhabited, some of them are not inhabited, and I want to know what's going on with these planets. Like on some barren, archaic, terrible 2G planet, really inhospitable, There's maybe an outpost where like 4 sweaty guys drink waves, watch monoreels, and do something behind closed doors. What happens behind those doors? What motivates them, and what are their stories? And we can't really tell that story through E1 gameplay, and not necessarily through just Tower 4 right now, but of course we have all these crazy stories that have emerged in the game. And also, the physical representation, manifestation of the stuff that's in it. I actually want to own all of it on my desk, and I want to like have a can of long liver rose. We wanted to make protein delicacies, but health authorities refused to participate in making the correct ingredients into protein delicacies. Look at that, if you are unfamiliar with the backstory. So we also want to make clothes. But as me and Hilman and others discovered, we're not really good at selling clothes or designing them. And also in terms of just expanding the universe, there are some things that we at CCP are pretty good at, and others we just should rather seek outside help, seek professional help. And partner with the best of breed companies, and Masterplan is one of those companies. It's a clothing label, and they do gamer clothes. They do like they treated other game IPs like Deus Ex and Assassin's Creed and others, and they do clothes that are designed for gamers. These are not clothes that are just walking billboards, trying to make human billboards out of players, like advertising the product. They are designed by gamers. The people designing the EVE clothes are, hardcore EVE players who know the IP really well. So we come up with this new clothing label, which is called 0.0, and the clothes from this label are now available on a newly opened EVE store. We finally refreshed EVE store, and again, they are really good at running stores. We actually weren't that really good at running online stores, as some of you may have found out, but they're really good at it, and they do quality surveys and quality products and so on, and they've come up with some really nice designs that refer back to things that you need, things that you know, things that you recognize, but they're not necessarily like these massive billboards. Things that are just cool and nice to wear. And also, when you're wearing this, you will be certain to get that kind of Fight Club-esque consenting nod across the room from that other dude. Recognizes the cult and the officer's shirt, and knows what you're about. We're also looking into 3D printing. 3D printing is really exciting and it's really cool, and I wish I would have sort of a 3D printed product out here, but we are actually juggling several cool ideas. The team in Shanghai actually made this really nice prototype of a dust mercenary, and they printed this out. You can see this in the store downstairs. And we're also looking at taking other elements and other things from the IP and printing them. And even further, we're looking at printing things that are uniquely customized and tailored, that they represent like who you are and the stuff that you have created in the game. Because 3D printing is about mass customization. It's not about mass manufacturing the same thing again and again and again. It's about making something that's kind of unique and personal to you. Now, as you noticed, we recently launched a website called True Stories of Your Life. And some of you have seen the exciting Viking-themed art for that particular website. Well, basically, the thing is that there are always amazing stories of things that you have done in the game. These stories have a much deeper resonance and much more interesting, sadly, than the later stories about emperors and corporation kind of executives and NPCs that we have made. When we tell people outside CCP, when we talk to media people, when we talk to people in various offices around the world, or various media companies around the world, we tell them about these stories, their eyes light up and they say, really, did this really happen? An alliance of that size. And this happened over like 3 years, and he betrayed him? Cannot be. And because these are interesting human stories that kind of transcend sci-fi, they transcend human life. And we want, but they're all spread out. They are on forums, and they are on blogs, and some of them are just told verbally. And we wanted a place where we could bring these stories together. You could help us figure out what were the most interesting stories through voting and so on. and then we could perhaps do something with them. And if you haven't gone to the site now, I completely recommend that you do. Right now they're only capturing the stories of the first decade. So submissions will be open until May 7th. It used to be first, but it's on May 7th, so it's the full decade. And also after a couple of announcements that I'm just about to make, you may actually want to go again to the site and revise or submit a new story. First way to tell these stories is like how do we tell these stories? What's the most accessible way and efficient way to tell an interesting story and get it passed out to people and do it in a visual style without spending $100 million? And one of those ways is to do a comic book. So without putting left to comic books. But how should we do it? Should we take all of the artists that work on spaceships, take them away for 3 years, and have them make comic books? And that would be a lot of fun for them, but there would be no new spaceships for you, and no new art. So that plan doesn't work. And again, we're not a company that makes this comic book, so we want to partner with somebody who knows how to do it, and knows how to do it properly. So who should we partner with? What company should we partner with? They have to have great authors, an artist, of course. And they must have a proven track record of dealing with intellectual properties and treating them with respect. So, and they have to have a logo. They don't have to have a logo, but their logo actually represents a piece of thing that Jack Woltz, the movie producer, found in satin sheets as he walked around, covered in blood, a horse head. So, working on this deal for quite a while now. I'm really happy to announce that we've made a deal with Dark Horse Comics to develop comic books and other novels. And Dark Horse have published other things, other interesting things that may be known to you, like this story here, and these, and this, and also this, which had great authors and was done and treated the IP really well. So we think they're good. And I'm happy to announce an upcoming comic book that will be released this winter called True Stories. It's inspired by player-driven events from the True Stories website or forums from blog, but that's one of the purposes of the True Stories website is to get these stories out there. It's going to be 64 pages. There's going to be 4 stories in it, so each one is 16 pages. So it's going to be 4 artist-writer teams working on them. And because we want you to get them, and we will not leave it yet, this is a version say that the universe is like this. The stuff that you do is the stuff that it's player generated, player made, and then at the other side of the coin is the lore itself. It's the foundation, it's the story of New Eden, it's the backstory of the races, or the story of the factions, the major NPCs, and the major players. So we wanted to do a separate thing on that. And of course, this one's going to be your own language. We're doing the source. Now this is a source book. This is completely in character book that tells you everything that you want to know about the Eve universe and just part 1 before. It's the best source of material this side of the world. So it is a nice glossy thing you can put on a coffee table and show to your friends. A fully covered hardcover, 184 pages, full of art and lore, and a lot of it will never have been seen before or read before. So this is something that I can show to my mom to explain what I do at work. Have pictures. And who knows what more we will do with this. So, if you haven't done it now, check out the site, the True Stories website, submit your story, read over the stories, and come May 7th, start voting up or down, comment on the stories, and put in your feedback. You can some pros and cons to the stories, and just definitely check it out. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to take some highlights from what Jorge was talking about, and there are really two things I'm going to point out, which you will be seeing as we are going to I'm going to progress to the rest of the keynote, is that one, we have created a structure within CCP to better hold prioritization and focus on this topic. Of course, we've been doing a lot over the past 10 years, from an initial concept where we made each socks, and we had Hope Feeling to us at the front desk answering telephones and then shipping socks around the world. So we've been doing this for a while in terms of taking the IP outside of time. But now we have a creative organization within CCP where there is priority and focus on this, accountability, and it's a structure that can hold that. So Torvald is now focusing on making sure that this happens. And he has a team with him to make that happen. It's not a big team, but the main thing is to work with partners on this. So when you see these things will be coming about, and will be coming about more aggressively than before. There's also another thing I want to highlight, which is it's about taking you places. So we're now taking your stories into comics, we're taking them to some other places, the stories from the True Stories website, we'll be talking about that later. And I mean, just as when we were sending the USB key with the names and faces of players into space, in the Space Hamster project last year, which some of you watched live happening, that was taking your names into places. And there's also an element with the Museum of Modern Art, which is taking what you create in the world to new places. So it's taking your stories, taking you as your characters in Evil Mind to new places. I now want to welcome David Reed on stage. He's going to summarize some of the things that have been progressing since he was here talking to you on Fanfest last year, and he also has goodies. David.
Thank you, Omar. And it's hard to watch the stuff that Torfi's been talking about and not get fired up about it. There is, again, it just sort of reminds you how different this game is. Is it really a game? Is it something deeper than that, because it's something that all of you are pouring parts of your soul into and making these stories something bigger than simply the things that happen in other games. And, you know, it reminds me of part of what I talked about here last year when we sat down on making an ambitious goal happen. The idea that we could make Eve plus Dust the world's largest game, or perhaps in another way to say it more eloquently, build the biggest universe in the universe. Now, this is not a small thing. It will be an effort, and we're heading down that direction bit by bit here. Here's a couple steps that have happened along the way to check in on the progress. As you know, January 10th, we officially linked Eve and Dust 514 through Tranquility. So now, for the first time, we had mercenaries on the ground, actually on the planets that Eve capsulators were flying around. And we followed that up fairly quickly with the announcement of the Dust Open Beta on January 22nd. And we continued from there in terms of driving some certain things between the storylines, between Eve and Dust, linking these things together, making some of the events that you read about in Templar 1 and other places come to life and come to be something that you yourselves were participants in. This, of course, manifested with what we did at PAX East with the Battle of Caldari Prime. And again, keep in mind, that was merely something that was done with the game in beta, without a lot of, effort around getting that actually to be a bigger and bigger thing. And we learned a lot from Caldari Prime and how people got into it, and we really thought deeply about how to make these events bigger. And so when we start thinking about being the biggest universe in the universe again, it's important to remember that we achieved this at some level on January 2011, when the peak concurrency on Tranquility surpassed 63,000, being the largest number of peak concurrent players on a game server in history. I can tell you now that since Dust has entered open beta, we have eclipsed that number already. But before we make a big deal about what exactly that number is, you're going to see us getting into some of these events and making things happen this year that just blow right past this number. And what we'll tell you is the next time we come back to you and tell you what that PCU record is, it's going to be over 100,000, and we will be the only member of the 100,000 club. And we're going to be doing it with you. You're going to have your chance to get into those record books alongside us, and we couldn't be more excited about what the integration of Dust and Eve together brings for us in terms of those stories. Now, it's impossible to hit these kinds of numbers without players. And of course, one of the things that we really spent a lot of time on in the past year is getting together more with you in person, not just here at Fanfest, but at player gatherings that we've done around the world. Some of the community gatherings you guys have done, we've tried to support that deeply. And so to that end, one of the things that we are getting behind in a bigger way this year than we ever have before is Eve Vegas. Now, we've had a great relationship with David Cohen, who runs Eve Vegas over the years. We've supported him by sending a lot of staff and working on this, but we all see a great opportunity to make Eve Vegas even bigger. And we think it's really important to be doing these sorts of things because not everyone can make it to FanFest. And we know how important it is to keep face-to-face with you, to hear your feedback in person. Yeah, it's great to have internet forums and to get petitions and things like that, but there's nothing quite like this and seeing that passion with you directly. So we're going to be working with David and crew to make Eve Vegas bigger and better in a couple of different ways. You know, we will be bringing more developers. We will be doing roundtables, reveals, presentations, and more. We're working on a big on-site tournament, again, to mirror some of what we've done here with Eve and Dust. And we'll be announcing those details as soon as we can. But one of the things that we're also doing to make Vegas bigger than it's ever been is we're going to allow you to buy your ticket for Eve Vegas with Plex. So we're excited about that as an opportunity now, as another way to make Plex happen in the real world and do that with you. And of course, being in Vegas itself offers a lot of opportunities for a lot of fun and other things in the natural environment there. So if that makes sense for you and it's something you're interested in, we can tell you that it will be something that will be very complimentary to what we're doing at FanFest. It's the first of other things that we plan to do. But early bird tickets are on sale now for Eve Vegas. Eve Vegas is 18th to 20th of October in Las Vegas, Nevada. We hope to see you there. Now, one of the things that occurred to me as well of working with a group of players like yourselves, it struck me as kind of interesting when I got here to CCP that for a game that's been as successful as it has, for a community that's been as passionate as you are, this game has never really had a proper collector's edition. And part of making things bigger and better in the second decade feels like doing a bit of what we're doing here at FanFest, sort of reflecting on the past, but the present and the future as well. And so part of this now, pleased to announce that we are launching this year the Eve Second Decade Collector's Edition. Now, this is something this is something that's going to have, of course, as like you have right now at FanFest, a mix of the present, past, and the future. Let's talk a little bit about the present and some of the items that you're going to get in game. So, first of all, we know that maybe you don't really like seeing your pod on screen. It's not exactly a highlight of your day, but you can do that at least with a little more style now with the Golden Pod, a cosmetic item that we're giving to everybody in the collector's edition. So you have at least a bit of a fashion makeover when this moment happens. We've also got a full set of male and female avatar clothing that'll be added, and the Gnosis Battlecruiser that John Lander introduced last night as part of the Eve 10th birthday gift will be giving you a 5-run blueprint of that fairly impressive ship that you get in the collector's edition as well. Now, additionally, we did something with the cast work on Magnate over the holiday, I think, and a popular Mar exploration frigate, but we figured we'd deck that out with a new skin for you. And one of the other things that we're going to be having in the collector edition on the online side is a bit of a time capsule. More digital items in there celebrating more memes, important moments in the history of EVE Online. So all that on the EVE Online side. But of course, it's important for us to celebrate the launch of Dust 5.4 as well. And to that end, we will be giving you a new set of rock suits and weapons themed in the Amar side. So we've got these are permanent items. They aren't consumable. You don't need to replenish or restock them. Here's a look at the Templar Assault drop suit. The Templar Heavy drop suit, which factored heavily, as you may have seen in the FanFest trailer that we showed last year. and the Templar Logistics drop suit. And it's very fitting that we're starting this off in the second decade collector's edition with the Amar Templar, because if you think back to Templar 1, that's really where the Dust Mercenary was born. So it's a chance to get some really nice looking things there. Additionally, we are adding in an Amar laser rifle, scrambler pistol, and scrambler rifle. And putting all these things together makes for a pretty impressive view. I can't pretend that I subscribe to Amar philosophy, but I do admire their ability to make beautiful weapons and armor here. Now, one of the things that we're doing on the digital side for people who make a pre-purchase of this, there are two additional in-game items. We have a Savage, the Fanfest Thrasher here for EVE Online. Now on the Dust 514 side, that uplink there that you see in the middle is an Amar drop uplink that is also a permanent spawn point item. Those two items come together for people who pre-purchase the item. Now going to more real-world items that also add this an important part of any good collector's edition. And you will remember that when we opened Fanfest this year, we opened with the Icelandic Symphony playing the music of EVE. And so one of the things that we felt was fitting to add to the collector's edition was a soundtrack of the game. Now, go ahead and clear, this is not the only way to get the soundtrack, right? As Hilmar said as he opened it, we're going to find other ways to get that to people, but we did feel this was an appropriate thing to include in a second decade collector's edition and a nice bonus for purchasers. We also wanted to do something a little more real with the ships of EVE Online, so to that end, we bring you the Minmatar Rifter. And it's not just a box. It's a 4-port USB hub. And we've got it to work in such a way, this is a prototype, you'll see a more polished version as we go along here, but that when you have the USBs plugged in and data is actually transmitting, the little light up there lights up much like your Rifter should. It'll come on as data goes in and out and things like that. So we're pretty excited about how this is coming together. Now, one of the things we also talked about when we sat down to make the collector's edition, we spent some time with the CSM over the holiday and asked them, look, what are some things that you think the players would love? What's going to resonate? What's important? And one of the things that we heard that was really interesting was, can you give us something that helps us explain to other people what EVE really is? My family, my wife, my brother, people who see how involved I am in this, but maybe don't quite get it. And part of the feedback we took with that and in that discussion was, maybe what makes sense is just a premium hardcover book. Something analogous to what Torby just talked about with EVE Source, but on the other side of the EVE gate, if you will. Something that chronicles not just the history of CCP as a company, but the history of EVE Online as a game, influenced not just around the fiction that we wrote, but the events that you guys have all participated in and such. And so one of the big items that we have in the collector's edition is a 190-page hardcover into the second decade that celebrates the beginnings of CCP and EVE Online all the way up to the modern day and the integration with Dust 514. And in order to do this, we had to think really hard about, well, who is the right person to write such a book? Who is somebody that can do this justice? And after some time, it became very clear to us that, who better to help us write into the second decade than somebody who's been chronicling your adventures in the history of New Eden for the first decade. And so with that, I ask you to give them a warm welcome to Richie Zapatero Shoemaker, retired editor, Beyond Magazine. Thanks for coming over. So can you tell us a bit about kind of the thought process here of what you expect to see as we make the second decade book happen here?
Well, there was the 2007, there was the Art of EVE book, obviously, and when we sat down to think about this, we didn't really want to supersede it, just complement it. And there were three main ways that I think we set about doing that. One is to obviously tell the story of the development of the EVE universe through lovely words and pictures. And the second thing was to highlight some of the community endeavours that have taken place over the years that have happened either subsequent to development or what's the word? Never mind. And the third thing was to kind of take all the unique aspects of some of the things we take for granted, like the single server and the CSM, things like that. And kind of ask people who've been playing Eve, been commentating on Eve, writing about Eve, the bloggers, the journalists, and ask them to look at those unique aspects from their unique perspective.
Cool. Well, we've already gotten the book into some pretty good pre-production here, and so I thought we'd show you a few pages of this. This one made me laugh quite a bit, of course, because for those who don't know, there was a game from a company called Electronic Arts, you might have heard of. They were making a game called Earth and Beyond that a lot of people thought was going to be the reason EVE Online wouldn't be successful, and yet 10 years later, here we are. And Earth and Beyond is not. So we're excited about this. Beyond that, as Richie said, I'll look at the empires, the lore, some of the history and things like that were put into the EVE universe on the fictional side, but also a good bit about the actual, the birth of EVE itself, the beta process going live and things. And again, some of what, going directly to members of the community, members of the press, in the same spirit as Orphe Hilmar talked about the true stories aspect of things, of making sure we chronicle those appropriate histories of EVE and bringing them to life. So we've got some of that happening here as well.
Yeah, I think we're still away from completing the book. What we'd like to do is similar to the True Stories thing we just announced. We'd like people to collect their predictions for the second decade, and also the pictures they've taken over the years, whether it's player needs or screenshots or stills of videos they've done over time. And hopefully in a couple of weeks there'll be some kind of demo blog that will help you how we can get on with it.
Awesome. All right, well, thanks a bunch, Richie, and we'll keep pushing this forward with you. Thank you. Now, as much as we are celebrating the second decade of EVE Online, it is important to remember that, as Rainier mentioned yesterday, EVE Online is actually not the first game that CCP made. That first game, Fanfest, if I pronounced that well, was a board game, and the proceeds of the board game were used to help fund the development of EVE Online. It was wildly successful here in Iceland, selling 10,000 units into about 70,000 households. I mean, in the United States, that would be like 20 million units being sold. So it's really a fascinating thing that happened here. And yet, as important as this game is in the history of CCP, and as much as you can see the fingerprints of Fanfest along EVE Online as a heavy PvP game, as Rainier said, it's not been a game that anybody else has been able to play unless you speak and read Icelandic. So, one of the other things Rainier mentioned yesterday is that the woman on the front of the box is actually the current mayor of Reykjavik, Jan Nar. And, Jan has not just been a colorful mayor in his own right, but was an actor and comedian prior to getting elected, and has had a bit of a moment of internet celebrity here over the past few months in Reddit forums and dressing in drag for the Pride parades here, bringing his family to the Harpa in his Jedi attire. So, when we started thinking about getting back to making another thing here with Jan, it was interesting, just a couple weeks ago, he posted this photo on his Facebook page. Now, I can't read Icelandic, but the people who can assured me that what happened there when he posted this, everyone was like, ooh, are you guys making the danger game? Well, the answer is, yes, we are. Now, the danger game itself, as a board game, had photos of actors who were playing certain roles in the games and things like that. And we decided a more authentic way to do this was to work with the mayor again, but also to bring CCP employees into the mix. And so here is CCP Guard, who isn't just an important member of our community team and the leader of Permaband. He's also playing the role of the drug dealer in Danger Game. And even Svenny can't quite outrace the long arm of the law from Ms. Mayor, as you see here in some of our pictures that you'll find coming into the game. So it's a really important part of CCP EVE history, and now it's available in English for the first time, and I couldn't be more excited about it. So it's a bit of the present, a good bit of the past, but one more thing that we've got here in the collector's edition is a little nod to the future. And so what you get in the Collector's Edition is a series of codes, one for the Dust in-game items, one for the Eve in-game items. But we've also got what I call the mystery code. This is a code that will have multiple purposes, and you'll be able to use it over the next decade as parts of future CCP products, future CCP releases. We're not going to tell you what those are now. We have a couple of good ideas on what you might expect to see there, but this will be something you're going to want to hold on to, and as a CCP fan who has a mystery code, you will find value in this over the next 10 years. So a lot of stuff to look forward to there. And all in, it's a fairly big offering that we're pretty proud of, and we are now able to say that pre-purchases are available now. It's $149 and 149 euros, shipping October 2013. It's also going to be, it's available on the Eve store, which Torfi talked about a little bit today, but it'll also be available in the US from Amazon and at retail in Germany through Flash.
Yeah.
So one last thing in this part here is about Dust 514, and we had a lot of fun sharing with you kind of the genesis of the marketing idea, the soul of the brand. This bit of PR I've started seeing around. We've got a lot of terrific feedback from all of you about this. One of the things we thought we'd do here as a close is we showed the TV spot one more time, and then I've got one last thing to tell you.
It's a war. Wars don't end. They just pause between rounds while each side changes the crowd. When you need war, they tell people to rich. Go out like that. As long as there's something to match around, I've got a job. And I'm going to go anywhere. Rated T for Teen. Download now on Legal PlayStation Network.
So part of what's important here, of course, when we talk about this idea of the vicious cycle, the endless cycle of death and rebirth that you as a Dust mercenary or you as an encapsulator get to be part of. And this, of course, is it's very symbolic and emblematic of the journey that we are on together with you, that we have been on for the past 10 years at EVE Online, and we are about to go on to in a big way with Dust 514. And so to that end, we're very excited to announce that Dust 514 is launching on 5/14, May 14, 2013. Now, launch is a big step, but it is only a step in this journey. As you come to learn from us with EVE Online, you can expect the game to continue to get improved on, for additions to happen on a regular basis, a continuous commitment of development, of listening to feedback, and adding to things. We're very proud of the Uprising build that you'll be getting on May 6th. We'll be adding more on May 14th, but that doesn't stop. And we intend for Dust to last another decade and far outlive the platform that it happens to be launching on and be an integral part of the EVE universe with the same level of gravitas that its players will now have with the FPS genre as MMO players now have with EVE Online. And to tell you more about that roadmap and that journey, we're welcoming back Brandon Lorino, the executive producer of Dust 514. Thank you.
Thanks, David. Hi, everyone.